This is Mark Bell, SuperTraining.tv, Super Training Gym, the strongest gym in the West. Here are some squats and some deadlifts from Super Training Gym. You see Mike here, Silent Mike, doing some cambered bar squats. The cambered bar is a bar that alleviates pressure from the shoulders and also gives you a little bit different center of gravity. There's Mr. Robot Pants, working on some of his raw squats as well. And here's my chubby little self doing some sumo pulls. On this day I decided to kind of work up with some raw sumo deadlifting, since it's a major weakness of mine. Just raw strength in general, other than in the bench press, is something that I have to continue to work on. Here's Robot going again. These guys had a good group going. It was Robot, Mike, and Torta. As you saw there, Torta's got a lot of strength, but sometimes he's a little sporadic with it, so having him kind of control it and keep it under wraps sometimes is crucial. Each guy is different. Some guys you got to tell them to be more aggressive. That's not the case with this guy. He's not afraid to just drop down in there. Sometimes it leads to him being all over the place. Very strong, very gifted lifter with a lot of talent. Hopefully we can bring up that talent and have him destroy some huge numbers in some upcoming meets. See these guys, how they're externally rotating with the knees. Something that I told Mike recently was to just not even worry about it. You know, you hear us talking about forcing knees out all the time. Well, forcing knees out is a cue that can be for everybody, but really, to be 100% honest, it's more of something that's going to be more productive for a geared lifter, because when you force your knees out real hard, you're going to be stretching the material of your briefs or your suit, and you're going to be getting the most out of your briefs or your suit. Sometimes you can create a mechanical advantage by forcing your knees out, because you can kind of be more underneath the barbell and keep your hips in good relationship to where the bar is. But all of us squat so much differently that that's not always the case. So a guy that squats a little bit closer stance, or somebody who's not afraid to use their lower back when they're doing a squat, they may not want to force their knees out quite as much. So here you can see them messing around with some head positioning. Got the head down, trying to round the upper back a little bit, straighten out the lower back. Just was playing around with some different stuff on this day. Did a bunch of speed sets before getting into the heavier weights. But, you know, make no mistake about it, you can externally rotate too far. You can force your knees out too far, and you can get yourself in a position where your leverage is actually worse rather than better. So if you're somebody who has a hard time forcing your knees out and your knees are continually coming in, you may just want to not bother forcing them out so hard, and that way, once you stop doing that, they won't slam inward as hard as you're coming up. So in other words, you might be trying to force them out so hard and get them get your knee out in an unrealistic position, and therefore it's snapping back into a more realistic position, something your body can actually maintain, and then thus is coming kind of inward. Whereas if you just kind of relax a little bit and just squat and just go, and yeah, you got to open up the groin a little bit, but don't worry about forcing your knees out so hard, and just kind of let your knees track where they should. And your knees should come out to about where your ankles are, but they shouldn't go any further than that in the case of a wide stance squat. The closer squat, you know, obviously your knees can sometimes travel out past your feet. The most optimal way to squat obviously would be to be straight up and down as much as possible, but not everyone can do that. You can see Silent Mike going again. He's got some good pop. It's got about 405 pounds, but that bar is a little bit heavy, so it's actually a little bit more. Probably about 420 pounds, something like that. And you can see Torta's really good at forcing his knees out. He's really good at staying upright. He's very explosive there. He's rocked 5 plates like it was nothing. Here I'm trying to mess around with something. I've played around with this many times before. Something I've messed around with, tinkered around with before with plates and also with sandbags. I've messed around with several times now, and it sort of only kind of works. That's why you don't see me doing it more often. You could also use chains and do that. Basically what I'm trying to do is make the weight heavier off the floor, and trying to just basically screw myself over from the bottom as much as possible, since that is normally where I struck the worst, is trying to accelerate off the floor. So you try to keep that head kind of packed in there a little bit. I actually look at the barbell, something I've been messing with lately. Here comes Torta with a 545. That one came up nice and easy too. Sometimes he's just a little bit out of control, but the kid's strong as shit. So what I'm doing with some of these deadlifts now is trying to keep that head packed in and down and back, and then driving the head back behind the bar as I lock it out. And that was 640 pounds. And that is it from supertraining.tv.